Hello, my name is Dr. George Mochocki, and welcome to Resource Management Lesson 6, Selecting Employees. We've went through other lessons, how a company selects employees. Now, how does HR as an individual select employees? You're taking me either for an online class, a face-to-face class, or a hybrid class, or one of my training sessions. Okay, what do you need to know on this chapter? First of all, remember, you'll have access to these concept maps. But part of this selecting employees is the elements of selection process, measurement of effectiveness of selection. Once they select an employee, how do I know that, I use employment tests, I have effective interviews, and I have a process. Once they select an employee, does that employee stay? Is he or she a good fit for the organization? Does he or she have the ability? Can I train them? Do I have the right training? Do I have the right individual that's receptive to the training I need? These are all important aspects of the selection process. Anywhere along here, once I have the employee and finally selected him, if he or she down the road I get too high of a turnover rate, or they're not doing well in training, I have to redesign and relook at my selection process to see what I should do differently. Okay, personal selection. How does an organization decide who to hire? So if I'm looking at and who not to hire, the recruitment process starts. What you're trying to do with HR, you have a large pool of individual. Through assessments, through the resume, through different tools that we have as an HR representative or human resource manager, I basically try to bring the pool to more of the candidates that fit my needs, that match my job description, my job specification, and my job requirements, okay? So we look at the personal selection. What's our selection process? Remember, it starts with the resume. Most resumes are sent electronically. If they send it to me electronically, I have a program that electronically will read the resume looking for key attributes that I placed in my job description and my job specification. If those elements, like if I'm looking for 2 years of college, I'm looking for experience, if that is not someplace embedded in the electronic resume that is submitted to me by the employee, that individual, it may go in the pile B instead of pile A, the first ones I'll look at. Because let the system eliminate all these individuals that don't even meet my minimum requirements. So now I'm only looking at the candidates that at least have the minimum requirement. Then I do the testing, and some of the testing before I even call the candidate in. There could be some kind of assessment test, but there could be some kind of personality testament. Something, they may be sending me some kind of a YouTube or some kind of a video or some kind of a reviewing of their work samples. Then I will interview the individual. Before I actually call them in, it may be a phone-to-phone, a face-to-face interview. Before I do the face-to-face interview, I may do a phone interview. Some of the phone interview may be a face-to-face because I'm using FaceTime or Skype to see the individual. Now I see how they communicate. I see how they look. I see how they prepare for this, and then I'll call them in for the face-to-face. After I hire them and everything else, then I look at the reference check. They may not accept the job. They may like the job, went through the whole process, but they may not like the pay or the working conditions or the hours I have. So they still may. So why spend the time looking at the references? Now they're hired. I offer them a job. They accept the job. They're working. The reference background may be 6 months or 3 months down the road. If they lied, then then I terminate them because they basically falsified the job, and then I make the selection. And remember, when I'm looking at the CASCOs, I'm looking at knowledge, skills, and abilities and others that I need. That's part of the selection process. Now, effective tool selection methods. What kind of tools do I have? Holy macro, I have a lot of tools. I have reliability, so I'm looking at my tools that are reliable, have a high correlation to this. Okay, so I look at that. I'm looking to validate criteria, definitions. And so if I'm looking at all these, a lot of the programs, a lot of testing has this content, consistency, what you'll find out through the reading and through the supplement information if you're taking me through the course I have, generalization, about the organization, about the job, about the applicant. These are some general tools that I have so I know when I'm evaluating tools. High utility, I'm looking at the value, and then legal. Is it legal? Privacy rights, fair credit reporting. If I'm using credit as part of my determination, Information Reform Control Act. Maintain that the information. If I'm required that the person has to be it doesn't have to be a citizen, but legally within the U.S. Has a green card legally, has a status that he or she could work, then that takes care of everything else. So that's part of my my tools that I need. The next one is background checking. So I'm looking at background gathering. Remember, that's usually after I offer the person. So I'm looking at contact information, work experience, education. It didn't lie. I actually asked for the official transcripts, technical experiences, membership in trade groups. Then I look at the references, check. 60% of males have been arrested. It's kind of scary. 2 or 3 of small companies do some kind of check. 8 out of 10 large companies do the check. It's just part of the process. Internet makes it easier, and then I can check the police report. So that's some background check. Now the other one, employment test. When I'm looking at employment tests, there's several tests. You have the aptitude test. Can they learn? Do they have the acquired skills or the ability? So I'm looking at some kind of aptitude. Okay. The next kind of test is achievement test. You told me you have experience. You already have the education. I may have a basic knowledge test, and that's to see what knowledge you have, what knowledge you are lacking. So that's another way of I have a larger pool, and I'm trying to bring that pool of individuals for the right person to hire. Then I look at other tests, physical ability. If I'm a fireman or a police officer, I should have some kind of physical ability. To a fireman, I should be able to carry at least 160-pound individual. Dead weight. And when I say dead weight, they're not moving, they're not cooperating. I'll be able to pick him or her up to a different location. Cognitive, could I have the ability to make decisions, think it through? Job performance, work samples, other personalities. Am I extrovert? Personality tested. Are you agreeable? Depending on the job. Honesty test. Drug testing. Most companies, they're doing drug testing because studies found out, that there's a higher percentage of accidents for individuals that are using substance drugs, okay, and medical examinations, all requirement part of the testing. Now, drug rules for administering drug tests. All new hiring system, everyone's getting hired for a drug test. Drug testing, while the person's hired and working for me, has different implementations. If you're working in you're a truck driver, and you, by the federal requirements or by OSHA requirements, you have to have a drug test every so often because your job requires it. You are either exposed to or have access to a lot of drugs that you could sell offwards, or you could become a user, or the job, because of the safety concern for individuals, a bus driver has to have a certain drug test to make sure he or she's not using, because the safety of the public outweighs your own personal privacy, for lack of better words. Okay, so. And you always have to respect the privacy, so there's different drug testing policies that HR has for an individual that's working for a company or one that's just coming in as a new employee. New employee, you didn't pass the drug test, we give you another test, I have another applicant, you just get a statement saying we found a better candidate for it. Once you're inside, usually most of the drug tests that we do, random drug tests, and when is a random test, how you're notified, who's notified, and how do you repeat, if you failed the random test, usually is the low-end random test. You fail it, there's a retesting procedure. You could take another test at a different test that has a higher credibility, for lack of better words, or you could say I've been on medication, that's why the test came out positive, or whatever. And there's a different process for that. Okay. So different rules for internal, once you're in the company working, and different rules hiring. Interview techniques, you have 9 directives, it's basically looking at strengths, weaknesses. Interview has a great open-end questions, and you select those. Most companies use the structure, so you have a set of questions, you ask all the same candidates. This way you're not worried about discrimination or anything else, that I didn't select this candidate for this and this reason, okay? And the other one, the situation, you look at certain situation. Give me a situation when you had to fire someone. Give me a situation when you did not agree with a team member and how you handle it. Then you have behavioral description is what was the outcome of the situation? What was your part? What did you have to do and what did you not have to do? When I look at behavior description, usually for middle management, I want cases. You already got the degree. You already have the specification. You already have the academic section, but how are you going to handle it in a certain situation? How you handle in previous situations is a good indicator how you would handle something that would come up in the future. An effective interview, be prepared. You as an interviewer have to be prepared. Put the applicant at ease. As an HR, ask the applicant about past behavior. Listen to the candidate. Make sure he or she's doing most of the talking, taking notes before and after, and let the candidates know what the next step is. And then how do you employee select? There's multiple hurdles. Remember, each hurdle, the resume, the interview, the phone interview, the assessment test, these are all hurdles to eliminate individuals. Just set up that way, to eliminate. I have a large pool and I start bringing in, now I have the best candidates that passed all these hurdles. Doesn't mean they're the best, but they've already have a higher potential, that they already are the type of individual I'm looking at. And then, compensatory model, looking at the high score, lower score, and then communicate this decision. Finally, here's the job, here's your job responsibility, here's your work schedule, here's the rate of pay, here's the starting date, and other details. Now the individual could accept it or not. After they accept it, that's usually when you do the background check. Because then you'll say, okay, you're hired, and we will be doing a background check. If any of the information that you falsified or told me on your background that is not true, that will be a cause for termination right off the bat. Okay? So that's about it. This is Human Resource Management, Lesson 6, Chapter 6, Selecting the Employees after they went through a certain process. What is our procedure? Whether you're a small company, large company, some have more procedures. All the hurdles are basically to bring down to a pool of candidates that are just the right candidates that you need. And I'll see you in the next section. Thank you.